Daniel's stomach was empty. His pockets were empty. He was 3 months behind on rent, barely surviving in a city that had chewed up his dreams. On his way home from another hopeless day, he saw him, a helpless stranger by the roadside, his expensive car broken down, his clothes covered in dirt and grease, looking nothing like a person that can actually afford such expensive car. 2 mechanics had already failed and taken his money. Daniel stopped. He fixed the car in 20 minutes, but when it was time to pay, the stranger had lost his wallet. So Daniel smiled and said, "Just go. Consider it a good deed for the day." His wife heard about it and exploded. "You're a fool, Daniel. That man had a Mercedes. You could have charged him 50,000 naira, but no, you let him go for free." She called him stupid. She called him irresponsible. She said she couldn't watch him destroy their lives with his foolish generosity anymore. 3 months later, 3 black SUVs pulled up to Daniel's tiny workshop. Armed security stepped out. Then a billionaire in a white agbada emerged. And what everyone found out next would leave the entire neighborhood speechless.
Fair African Tales. Subscribe and turn on the bell for new stories.
The sun had barely risen when Daniel locked the wooden door of his one-room apartment. The paint was peeling and the hinges creaked with age, but it was home. He adjusted the strap of his worn tool bag across his shoulder and began the 30-minute walk to his workshop on the outskirts of Ilorin. The city was already stirring to life. Traders were setting up their stalls along the roadside, and the aroma of akara frying in hot oil filled the air. Daniel's stomach growled, reminding him that he'd skipped dinner the night before. There simply hadn't been enough money for 2 meals. He had come to Ilorin 3 years ago with dreams as big as the sky. His village, a small settlement 2 hours away, offered nothing but subsistence farming and the slow passage of time. Daniel had always been good with his hands, understanding how things worked, how to fix what was broken. His father had taught him the basics of mechanics before he passed, and Daniel had built on that foundation with determination and an eagerness to learn. But Ilorin had proven harder than he'd imagined. The city was full of mechanics, many with established shops and loyal customers. Daniel's small workshop, really just a shed he rented from Baba Sule, sat on a quiet street where few people passed. Most days he was lucky to get 1 or 2 customers. When he arrived at the workshop, he found the metal gate already open. Baba Sule was sweeping the front of his compound. "Morning, Baba," Daniel greeted, bowing slightly in respect. "Ah, Daniel, my boy, you're early today. Any customers yesterday?" "Just one, sir. A motorcycle with a carburetor problem." Baba Sule shook his head sympathetically. "These are hard times for everyone, but you're a good boy, hard-working. Your day will come." Daniel smiled, though the words felt hollow. He'd heard them so many times before. He entered his workshop and looked around at his meagre tools, most of them second-hand or borrowed. Still, they were enough for him to do good work when the opportunity came. The morning crawled by without a single customer. Daniel occupied himself by organizing his tools and cleaning the workshop. Around noon, he heard voices outside. "Please, I beg you. My son needs to get to the hospital, but my motorcycle won't start." Daniel stepped outside to find a woman in tears, standing beside an old motorcycle. A young boy, no more than 7, sat on the seat. His face pale and his breathing labored. "What's wrong with him?" Daniel asked. "He has asthma. He's having an attack and we're out of medication. The hospital is 3 kilometers away, but I can't afford a taxi, and now my bike." Daniel didn't wait for her to finish. "Let me see." He examined the motorcycle quickly. The spark plug was fouled and the fuel line was clogged. Under normal circumstances, this would be at least a 30-minute job, but the boy's condition left no time for perfection. Daniel worked faster than he'd ever worked, his fingers moving with practiced efficiency. 15 minutes later, the engine sputtered to life. "It's not perfect, but it will get you to the hospital," Daniel said, wiping his hands on an old rag. "After your son is better, bring it back and I'll do a proper job." The woman reached into her wrapper, pulling out a small purse. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing. Go. Your son needs you." "But I must pay you something." "Your son's health is payment enough. Now go, quickly." The woman's eyes filled with fresh tears, but these were different. She clasped Daniel's hand briefly, then mounted the motorcycle and sped away, her son clinging to her back. Daniel returned to his workshop, his stomach still empty but his spirit somehow fuller. He knew his wife Blessing would not understand. She never did. The afternoon brought 2 more customers. A man needed his car battery checked, and an elderly woman's generator wouldn't start. Daniel fixed both problems, charging only what was fair. By the time he closed the workshop at 6, he had made 1,000 naira. Not much, but enough for rice and stew for dinner, with some left over. As he walked home, the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. Daniel felt a small measure of peace. Today had been a good day. He had helped people, earned some money, and maybe, just maybe, Blessing would smile when he got home. But then he saw the old man. He was sitting at the junction near the main market, his back against a concrete wall. His clothes were little more than rags, and his eyes held the hollow look of someone who had forgotten what hope felt like. A small bowl sat in front of him, containing a few coins. Daniel slowed his pace, his hand moving instinctively to his pocket, where the 1,000 naira rested. He should walk past. He should take the money home. Blessing was waiting. They needed groceries. The rent was due in a week, but the old man's eyes met his, and Daniel saw his own father in that weathered face. His father, who had died with dignity but without comfort, who had given Daniel everything and asked for nothing in return. Daniel approached the old man and knelt beside him. "Baba, when did you last eat?" The old man's voice was barely a whisper. "Yesterday morning. Someone gave me bread." Daniel pulled out the 1,000 naira and pressed it into the old man's trembling hands. "Go and eat something hot. Find a place to sleep tonight. May God bless you." The old man stared at the money, then at Daniel, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. "My son, God will reward you. He sees your heart. He sees everything you do." Daniel nodded and stood. His pocket now empty except for the coins he needed for transport. He would walk home instead. He would drink Gary tonight and tell Blessing there had been no customers. It was easier than explaining, easier than fighting. But when he reached home, Blessing was standing in the doorway, her arms crossed and her expression dark. "Mama Chidi came by," she said before he could greet her. "She told me she saw you at the junction. She said you gave money to a beggar." Daniel's heart sank. "Blessing, don't blessing me. Where is the money you made today? I had customers, but you gave it away. Again." Her voice rose with each word. "Daniel, what is wrong with you? Do you not see that we are the ones who need help? Do you not see that I am tired of borrowing from neighbors, tired of going to bed hungry, tired of making excuses for why we can't pay our bills?" The man was hungry. "He's old enough to be my father." "He is not your father. Your father is dead, and he is not coming back, and giving money to every beggar in Ilorin will not change that." The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. Blessing had never been cruel before, but poverty had a way of sharpening tongues and hardening hearts. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I couldn't walk past him. You never can." Blessing's anger dissolved into something worse, resignation. "You can't walk past anyone. Meanwhile, we are drowning, Daniel. We are sinking, and you are too busy saving others to notice." She turned and went inside, leaving Daniel standing in the doorway. He wanted to explain, to make her understand that helping others was the only thing that made him feel human, that made the struggle worthwhile. But he had no words that would bridge the gap between them. That night, they ate Gary in silence. Daniel could feel the weight of Blessing's disappointment across the small room, heavy and suffocating. He lay awake long after she had turned her back to him, staring at the ceiling and wondering if kindness was really a virtue or just another word for foolishness. The following week brought more of the same. Daniel worked hard, took on any job that came his way, but the money was never enough. And always there was someone who needed help more than he needed the money. A young man whose taxi broke down and couldn't afford repairs. Daniel fixed it and charged only for parts. A widow whose grinding machine stopped working. Daniel spent 3 hours repairing it and refused payment. A student whose electric bike wouldn't charge. Daniel identified the problem and fixed it for free, knowing the boy needed it to get to his exam center on time. Each act of kindness drove a deeper wedge between Daniel and Blessing. They stopped talking about anything meaningful. Their conversations became transactional. "Did you buy rice?" "The landlord came by." "I'm going out." Then came the morning that changed everything. It was a Thursday, 3 months after Daniel had given his last money to the old beggar. He had spent the day at his workshop with only one customer, a motorcycle that needed a simple oil change. As the sun began to set, he closed up and started the walk home, his tool bag light on his shoulder and his stomach empty. The main road that led back to his neighborhood was busy with evening traffic. Cars and motorcycles jostled for space, and hawkers called out their wares. Daniel walked along the dusty shoulder, lost in thought about how he would explain another near-empty day to Blessing. Then he heard it, the sound of an engine sputtering, followed by the unmistakable death rattle of a car giving up. He looked up to see a black Mercedes-Benz rolling to a stop on the side of the road, smoke beginning to rise from under the hood. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out. He was tall, and his clothes, though quality, were rumpled and stained with what looked like engine oil and dirt. His face was streaked with sweat and frustration. He looked nothing like someone who owned a Mercedes. Daniel watched as the man opened the hood, releasing a cloud of steam. The man jumped back, cursing softly, then pulled out his phone and made a call. Daniel should have kept walking. It was getting late, and he was tired and hungry, but old habits were hard to break. He approached the car. "Excuse me, sir, are you having trouble?" The man looked at him with weary eyes. "The car just died. I've already called a mechanic, but this is the second one today. The first couldn't fix it, and I don't have much hope for this one either." "What was the problem?" "I don't know. The first mechanic said it was the fuel pump. He worked on it for an hour, charged me 20,000 naira, and the car died again 30 minutes later. Then I found another mechanic in town. He said it was the alternator. Another hour, another 15,000. And here I am again." Daniel moved closer to the engine, his trained eyes scanning the components. "May I take a look?" The man gestured helplessly. "Be my guest. I don't think it will help, but I'm desperate at this point." Daniel set down his tool bag and examined the engine carefully. The first mechanic had indeed replaced the fuel pump, and the second had installed a new alternator. Both parts were working fine, but neither had identified the real problem, a corroded ground wire that was causing an intermittent electrical failure. It was a simple fix, the kind of thing that took experience to spot. "Sir, I think I know what the problem is." The man looked skeptical. "That's what the other two said." "The ground wire is corroded. See here?" Daniel pointed to the connection. "It's causing your electrical system to fail randomly. That's why the car works for a while, then dies. The other mechanics fix symptoms, not the cause." "Can you fix it?" "Yes, but I'll need to clean the connection and possibly replace the wire. It will take maybe 20 minutes. The man checked his watch. 20 minutes? The other mechanic I called will be here soon, but if you can really fix it in 20 minutes... "I can try, sir." Daniel worked quickly, using the basic tools from his bag. He cleaned the corroded connection, tested the electrical flow, and secured everything properly. 18 minutes later, he stepped back. "Try it now." The man got in and turned the key. The engine roared to life, smooth and strong, with none of the sputtering from before. He let it run for a full minute, then turned it off and started it again. Perfect! He stepped out of the car, and for the first time Daniel saw something other than frustration on his face. Relief, yes, but also something else. Respect. "You did it. You actually fixed it." "Yes, sir. The ground wire was the issue all along." The man reached into his pocket, then his other pocket. His expression changed, panic flashing across his face. He checked his pants, his shirt, then rushed to open the car and search inside. "My wallet, it's gone. I must have... When the car first broke down, I was helping push it, and there were people around. Someone must have..." He ran his hand over his face, leaving a streak of grease. "I can't believe this, after everything today." Daniel saw the man's expensive watch, his quality shoes despite the dirt, the Mercedes itself. This was clearly someone with money. But right now, standing on the side of the road covered in grime and stress, he just looked like another person having a terrible day. "It's okay, sir. You don't need to pay me." The man stared at him. "What?" "You've had a difficult day. You've already paid 2 mechanics who didn't fix the problem. Just go. Get to wherever you're going." "But I need to pay you. You actually fixed it. Give me your number, your account details, something. I'll send the money as soon as I get home." Daniel smiled. "It's fine. I'm just glad I could help." "What's your name?" "Daniel. Daniel Adewale." "Daniel, I insist. This isn't right. You did the work." "Sir, you need to get going before it gets too dark. The road ahead isn't well lit. Please just go. Consider it a good deed for the day." The man studied Daniel for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he extended his hand. "Thank you, Daniel. You have no idea what this means." They shook hands, and the man got back in his car. He started the engine one more time, as if still not quite believing it would work, then drove away into the gathering dusk. Daniel watched the Mercedes disappear down the road, then picked up his tool bag and continued his walk home. His hands smelled like engine grease, and his empty stomach reminded him he hadn't eaten since morning. But he felt good. He had helped someone, solved a problem that 2 other mechanics couldn't. That had to count for something. When he reached home, Blessing was waiting. Her friend Mama Chidi was there too, and from the look on both their faces, Daniel knew they had heard something. "Is it true?" Blessing asked without preamble. "Is what true?" "Mama Chidi's son saw you on the main road. He said you fixed a Mercedes, a big expensive car. He said the man was well dressed underneath all the dirt." Daniel set down his tool bag. I helped someone whose car broke down, yes. And Blessing's voice was tight. How much did he pay you? He didn't pay me. The silence that followed was deafening. Mama Chidi's eyes widened, and Blessing's face went through several expressions before settling on something between disbelief and rage. He didn't pay you, Blessing repeated slowly. A man with a Mercedes-Benz, and he didn't pay you. He lost his wallet. He had no money with him. So you let him drive away, just like that? What was I supposed to do? Keep his car hostage? Blessing turned to Mama Chidi. Do you see what I'm dealing with? Do you see? Mama Chidi shifted uncomfortably. Daniel, my dear, perhaps you should have... a man with such a car surely has money somewhere. You could have gotten his details, his phone number. He offered, Daniel said. I told him not to worry about it. Blessing laughed, but there was no humour in it. You told him not to worry. Daniel, do you know what you could have charged him? 2 mechanics worked on that car before you. 2. They charged him 35,000 naira and couldn't fix it. You fixed it in 20 minutes and you charged nothing. Nothing. I was just helping, always helping. Daniel, when will you help yourself? When will you help me? Her voice broke. I am tired. I am so tired of this. Of being poor while you play saint. Of going to bed hungry while you give away everything we have. Of being married to a man who cares more about strangers than his own wife. That's not fair, Blessing. You know I care. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like everyone else matters more than I do. That woman with the sick child, the beggars, and now this stranger with his expensive car. Everyone gets your kindness, your generosity, your help. What do I get? An empty pot and a husband who thinks poverty is a virtue. Mama Chidi stood. I should go. This is between husband and wife. After she left, the silence returned, heavier than before. Blessing sat on their only chair, her shoulders slumped. I can't do this anymore, she said quietly. Blessing, no, Daniel, I'm serious. I thought I could. I thought your kindness was beautiful, that it was who you are, and I shouldn't try to change you. But I can't watch you destroy us with your generosity. I can't. What are you saying? She looked up at him, and there were tears in her eyes. I'm going to my mother's house tomorrow. I need time to think, to decide if I can really live like this. Blessing, please. Did you hear what I said about that car? 2 mechanics charged 35,000 naira and failed. You succeeded and charged nothing. Do you understand what that money could have meant for us? We could have paid rent for 3 months. We could have bought food, paid our debts, had something in our pockets. But you chose to give it away. I didn't give it away. He had no money. Then you should have made sure you got it somehow. His number, his address, something. But no, you told him not to worry. She stood and moved to their small wardrobe, pulling out a bag. I need to leave before I say something I can't take back. Daniel watched helplessly as she packed a few clothes. How long will you be gone? I don't know. A week, maybe more, maybe forever. I don't know anything anymore except that I can't watch this. I can't watch you give away opportunities while we starve. I love you, Blessing. I know you do. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people need more than love. They need wisdom, practicality, a partner who thinks about the future. She finished packing and moved toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back. That man in the Mercedes, whoever he is, he's probably at home right now in his comfortable house, eating a good meal, sleeping in a soft bed. And here you are with nothing. Do you think he's thinking about you? Do you think he cares that you fixed his car for free? Or do you think he's just grateful he found a fool who asked for nothing? The words cut deeper than any knife. After she left, Daniel sat on the floor, his back against the wall, and let the tears come. Maybe she was right. Maybe he was a fool. Maybe his father's teachings about kindness and helping others were just naive ideals that had no place in the real world. The next few weeks were the longest of Daniel's life. Blessing stayed at her mother's house and refused to come home. When he called, she was polite but distant. When he visited, her mother looked at him with pity and disappointment. "My daughter deserves better than this," she told him one evening. "A man should provide for his wife, not give away what little he has to strangers." Daniel had no defense. The evidence was against him: an empty bank account, unpaid rent, a wife who had left because he couldn't prioritize properly. At the workshop, things weren't any better. Word had spread about the Mercedes incident, and people looked at him differently now. Some with pity, others with something like contempt. Even Baba Sule seemed worried. "Daniel, my boy, perhaps your wife has a point. Kindness is good, but wisdom is also necessary. You must learn to help yourself before you can help others." But Daniel couldn't seem to change. A commercial driver's bus broke down near his workshop, full of passengers heading to a funeral. Daniel fixed it quickly and refused payment, knowing the driver would lose his day's earnings otherwise. A pregnant woman's husband brought their car in for repairs they clearly couldn't afford. Daniel did the work and charged only for parts. Each time he heard Blessing's voice in his head. "When will you help yourself?" 3 months passed. 3 long months of barely surviving, of lying awake at night wondering if his marriage was over, if his father's lessons had been wrong, if kindness was really just another word for stupidity. It was a Tuesday morning, unremarkable in every way. Daniel had spent the night at the workshop because he hadn't paid rent in 3 months, and Baba Sule, patient as he was, needed the money. He was cleaning his tools when he heard the sound of engines. Multiple engines. He stepped outside and froze. 3 black SUVs were pulling up in front of his workshop. They were spotless, expensive, the kind of vehicles that turned heads wherever they went. Daniel's heart began to race. Had he done something wrong? Was this the police, immigration? The doors of the first SUV opened, and several men in dark suits stepped out. They moved with the precision of trained security, scanning the area before one of them opened the rear door of the second SUV. The man who stepped out was transformed from the person Daniel had met 3 months ago. He wore an immaculate white agbada, gold gleaming at his neck and wrists. His shoes shone in the morning sun, and he carried himself with the unmistakable bearing of someone important. But his face was the same, and when his eyes met Daniel's, they crinkled with a warm smile. "Daniel Adderwale," the man said, his voice carrying across the space between them. "I've been looking for you." Daniel's mouth went dry. "Sir?" The man walked forward, his security detail flanking him. "You know, it took my people almost 2 months to find you. No phone number, no business card, just a name and a description of a small workshop in Ilarine. We must have visited 30 workshops before we found the right one." I don't understand." "Let me properly introduce myself. My name is Chief Emmanuel Okonkwo. I own Okonkwo Industries." He paused, watching Daniel's face. "You may have heard of it." Daniel had. Everyone in Nigeria had heard of Okonkwo Industries. It was one of the largest conglomerates in West Africa, with interests in manufacturing, construction, real estate, and automotive services. Chief Okonkwo wasn't just wealthy, he was one of the richest men in the country. That day you found me on the roadside, Chief Okonkwo continued. I was returning from a business meeting here in Ilarine. A deal worth 300 million naira. But my car had been having problems all day. 2 mechanics had taken my money and failed to fix it. I was stressed, frustrated, and yes, I'd been robbed of my wallet during the confusion. By the time you found me, I was at my wits' end. He stepped closer to Daniel. Do you know what happened after you fixed my car? Daniel shook his head, unable to speak. I made it to Lagos safely. I made it to my next meeting on time. And that deal I mentioned, it went through. 300 million naira secured because a young mechanic on the side of the road saw a stranger in distress and helped without asking for anything in return. Chief Okonkwo gestured to one of his men, who stepped forward carrying a leather briefcase. You refused payment that day. You told me not to worry, to just go. Do you remember? Yes, sir. Why did you do that? I was a stranger. You didn't know who I was. I could have been anyone. Daniel thought about his answer. You had a hard day, sir. You'd already lost money to mechanics who couldn't fix your car, and then your wallet was stolen. It just seemed wrong to add to your troubles. Chief Okonkwo smiled, but his eyes were serious. That's what I thought. That's what I told my wife when I got home. I said, I met a young man today who restored my faith in humanity. She didn't believe me at first. She said people like that don't exist anymore, especially not in this country. He opened the briefcase and Daniel's eyes widened. It was filled with cash, more money than he'd ever seen in his life. This is 10 million naira, Chief Okonkwo said. It's what I calculate I owe you. The repair itself, the 2 other mechanics' failures that you fixed, the inconvenience, and a bonus for your integrity. Daniel couldn't breathe. 10 million naira. It was more than he'd make in 20 years at his current rate. But money alone seems insufficient, Chief Okonkwo continued. He pulled out a folder from the briefcase. I'm opening a new automotive service centre in Lagos. State-of-the-art facility, the best equipment, trained staff. I want you to manage it. Sir, before you say anything, let me finish. This isn't charity, Daniel. I've made inquiries about you over these past months. I know about your reputation for honest work. I know about the customers you help for free, the repairs you do at cost, the way you treat everyone with dignity regardless of whether they can pay. That's not just kindness. That's character. And character is what builds lasting businesses. He handed Daniel the folder. Inside, you'll find a contract. The automotive centre will operate under my company's name, but you'll manage it. You'll receive a salary of 500,000 naira per month, plus a percentage of the profits. There's also a 3-bedroom apartment in Lagos that comes with the position, for you and your family. Daniel opened the folder with shaking hands. The contract was real, official, with Chief Okonkwo's company letterhead and seal. I know this is overwhelming, Chief Okonkwo said gently, but I've built my business on one principle: find good people and invest in them. You are good people, Daniel, the kind of person who does the right thing even when it costs them everything. That's rare. That's valuable. That's what I want in my organization. One of the security men spoke quietly to Chief Okonkwo, who nodded. I need to go, but my team will stay to finalize everything. Think about the offer. Discuss it with your wife. Take a day or 2 if you need to. But Daniel, he placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. Don't let anyone tell you that kindness is weakness. What you did for me that day, letting me go without payment when you clearly needed the money, that took strength. Real strength. Thank you, sir, Daniel managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll help me build something good. Say you'll bring your integrity to Lagos and show people that business can be done differently. Chief Okonkwo turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Daniel, that day on the roadside, I was dressed poorly because I'd been working on the car myself, crawling under it, getting dirty. People kept walking past me, assuming I was just another stranded motorist without money. Only you stopped. Only you helped. That taught me something important. You see people, not their circumstances. That's the kind of manager I need. After the SUVs drove away, Daniel stood holding the briefcase and folder, his mind spinning. Baba Suleh came running from his compound, eyes wide. Daniel, Daniel, was that Chief Okonkwo, the Chief Okonkwo? Yes, Baba. And he gave you money, a job? Yes, Baba. Baba Suleh laughed, a joyous sound that drew neighbours from their homes. Soon a small crowd had gathered, everyone talking at once, asking questions, congratulating him. But Daniel could think of only one person. He pulled out his phone and dialed Blessing's number. She answered on the third ring. Daniel? Blessing, can you come to the workshop, please, right now? Daniel, I told you I need more time. Please, just come. It's important. There was a long pause. Fine, I'll be there in 30 minutes. Daniel used the time to process what had happened. He looked at the money in the briefcase, ran his fingers over the contract, and tried to understand how his life had changed so completely in the span of 20 minutes. When Blessing arrived, her mother was with her, both wearing expressions of weary resignation. But their faces changed when they saw the briefcase, the folder, and the crowd of neighbours still lingering nearby. What's going on? Blessing asked. Daniel led her and her mother into the workshop, away from curious eyes. Then he told them everything, about Chief Okonkwo, about the money, about the job offer in Lagos. Blessing sat down heavily on her old tyre, staring at the briefcase. 10 million naira? Yes. And a job, managing a service centre? Yes. Her mother picked up the contract, reading through it with careful attention. This is real. This is legitimate. She looked at Daniel with new eyes. This is because you fixed his car. That day you let him go without paying? Yes, Ma. Blessing's eyes filled with tears. I called you a fool. I said you were stupid for helping him. I said he probably laughed at you, that he didn't care. You were scared, Blessing. We both were. But you were right. All along you were right. The tears spilled over. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. I couldn't see what you were building, what you were doing. Daniel knelt beside her. You wanted me to be practical, to think about our future. There was nothing wrong with that. But I tried to change who you are. I tried to make you less kind, less generous. I was so focused on surviving that I forgot about living, about being the kind of people we want to be. Her mother spoke quietly. Daniel, I owe you an apology too. I judged you. I thought you were irresponsible, that my daughter deserved better. But you are better, better than I understood. Thank you, Ma. Blessing took Daniel's hands in hers. If we go to Lagos, if we take this opportunity, I want you to promise me something. Anything. Don't change. Don't let success change who you are. Keep being the man who stops to help strangers. Keep being the man who sees people instead of circumstances. That's who I fell in love with. That's who I want to grow old with. I promise. The news spread through Eloreen like wildfire. The poor mechanic who had helped a billionaire and been rewarded for his kindness. People came from all over the city to congratulate Daniel, to shake his hand, to hear the story firsthand. Mama Chidi came, shamefaced and apologetic. "I was wrong about you, Daniel. I told Blessing she should leave you. I said you would never amount to anything with your foolish generosity. I'm sorry." "It's okay, Mama Chidi. You were looking out for your friend." The woman with the sick son came, bringing the boy who was now healthy and full of energy. "You saved my son's life. If you hadn't fixed my motorcycle that day, I don't know what would have happened. And you wouldn't take any money? Now look at you. God has rewarded you." The old beggar, the one Daniel had given his last money to, somehow heard the news and found his way to the workshop. He was cleaner now, less desperate looking, and he gripped Daniel's hand with surprising strength. "I told you that day, remember? I said God would bless you. I said he sees your heart. Did you believe me?" "I wasn't sure," Daniel admitted. "But it's true. God sees everything, every kindness, every sacrifice, every moment you chose to help instead of help yourself. None of it was wasted. None of it was forgotten." Daniel thought about all the people he'd helped over the past 3 years. The students, the widows, the struggling drivers, the pregnant woman and her husband. Each one had been a choice, a moment where he could have turned away, could have prioritized his own needs, could have been practical instead of kind. And each choice had shaped him, had built something inside him that was now being recognized and rewarded. Over the next week, Daniel prepared for the move to Lagos. He paid Baba Sule everything he owed plus a full year's rent as thanks for his patience. He settled his debts with local shopkeepers, much to their surprise and delight. He even found Ahmed, the young mechanic from Sokoto who had taken over his old workshop space, and gave him enough money to properly equip the shop. "Why are you doing this?" Ahmed asked, overwhelmed. "Because someone helped me when I needed it. Now I'm passing it forward. Use this wisely. Build something good." Chief Okonkwo sent a team to help with the move. They arrived with a truck, packed everything efficiently, and drove Daniel and Blessing to Lagos in one of the company cars. The journey that had taken Daniel 3 years ago seemed shorter now, the landscape passing by in a blur of possibility. When they arrived in Lagos, Daniel was stunned by the automotive centre. It was enormous, gleaming with new equipment and fresh paint. The sign above the entrance read, "Okonkwo Auto Services, where integrity meets excellence." Chief Okonkwo was waiting for them, along with a staff of 20 mechanics and support workers. "Welcome to your new workplace," he said, shaking Daniel's hand. "Everything you see here is yours to manage. I trust you to run it with the same integrity you showed me on that roadside." Daniel walked through the facility, his eyes taking in the hydraulic lifts, the computerized diagnostic equipment, the organized tool stations, the comfortable waiting area for customers. It was everything he'd dreamed of, but never dared to hope for. The apartment above the center was equally impressive. 3 bedrooms, a modern kitchen, a living room with actual furniture. Blessing walked through it with tears streaming down her face. "Do you remember our one room?" she asked. "The peeling paint, the creaking door?" "I remember." "And now this. Daniel, how did we get here?" "We got here because you never stopped believing we deserved better, even when you doubted my methods. We got here because I never stopped trying to be the person my father raised me to be. We got here together." That evening, as they sat in their new living room, Blessing said, "I want to tell you something. That day I left, I was so angry. Not just at you, but at the world, at God, at everything. I thought we were being punished for something. I thought your kindness was a curse. And now I understand it was never a curse. It was a test. Every time you chose to help someone, every time you gave when we had nothing, you were building something invisible, a reputation, a character, a spirit. And that's what Chief Okonkwo saw. Not your skills, though you have those. He saw your heart. Daniel pulled her close. I'm glad you came back. I'm glad you never stopped being you, even when I asked you to. The first few months in Lagos were a whirlwind. Daniel threw himself into managing the automotive centre, training his staff, establishing procedures, building relationships with customers. He applied the same principles that had guided him in Ilorin. Honest pricing, quality work, treating everyone with respect. Word spread quickly. In a city full of dishonest mechanics who overcharged and underdelivered, Okonkwo Auto Services became known as the place where you could trust the work and the price. Customers came from all over Lagos, some travelling for hours just to have their cars serviced. Chief Okonkwo visited regularly, always pleased with the reports. You're exceeding every projection, Daniel. I knew you would. Daniel's journey teaches us something profound that the world often forgets. True success is not built on what we take, but on what we give. In a society where everyone is told to look out for themselves first, Daniel chose a different path. He chose compassion over calculation, generosity over greed, and character over convenience. And while the world called him foolish, heaven was keeping records. The lesson here is clear. Your integrity is your greatest investment. Every act of kindness you perform, every person you help without expecting anything in return, every moment you choose to do right even when it costs you, these are not losses. They are seeds planted in soil you cannot see, growing into harvests you cannot yet imagine. And there's another lesson here for Blessing and for all of us. Sometimes the very thing that frustrates us about someone is the exact quality that will elevate them. Blessing saw Daniel's generosity as weakness, as foolishness, that was destroying their future. She didn't realize it was actually building their future in ways she couldn't see. The truth is this: you never lose by being kind. You never fall by lifting others. You never go hungry by feeding the hungry. God sees every sacrifice. He records every act of compassion, and when the time is right, He sends your reward in ways that exceed your wildest imagination. Now, here's the question for you. If you were in Daniel's position that evening, tired, hungry, with your last money in your pocket, and a beggar looking at you with hopeless eyes, what would you choose? Would you walk past and protect yourself, or would you stop and give what little you have? And if you encountered that stranded stranger on the roadside, knowing 2 mechanics had already collected money from him, knowing he had no wallet to pay you, would you still help? Or would you calculate the cost and walk away? Your answers to these questions reveal who you truly are. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to Fair African Tales for more inspiring stories that remind us what truly matters in life. Drop a comment below. What lesson did Daniel's story teach you? Have you ever helped someone and wondered if you were being foolish? Tell us your story. Remember, your next act of kindness might just be the seed that changes your entire life. Until next time, stay kind, stay generous, and trust that your good heart will always find its reward.